Hi everyone, how you doing tonight? Just checking to make sure I have sound. Okay. I heard myself, that's enough. So did anyone get to sew today? So if you are stitching along with me, this is probably one you might not. I just have a couple of scraps of fabric. Hey Rhonda! I just have a couple of scraps of fabric to try some stitching on. I've got out different thread weights and I have different types of needles, so I'll go over that. So it'll be a good addition to your sewing resource book. Can't find my snips that belong in here. So I'm really irritated with myself. I know I had them out, and I know I had them somewhere that I said to myself, I need to put these back, and I didn't. Well, I can't remember what I was doing. So I got out a regular pair of little thread cutting scissors. So we'll just wait, we'll wait another minute or so, just so everybody can join in. Oh, hi Gloria, you did sew today. Good for you. I went and got fabric. Does that count? That count for something? Oh, Rhonda worked on her watermelon placemats. I don't have the sample, Rhonda, but I've got that's what Rhonda's working on. Had an in-store class on that the other day. Can't see, but I'm looking around because I can't put my hands on a pattern that I had out. And I think I put it in a project bag. Oh, everything counts. I went to Bits and Pieces to get fabric to work on a sample for this quilt. So I needed the fabric for that. So I got a jelly roll, brand new hot off the press, and then 5 yards of background. And I'm so excited because now that I've told you how I can't find my scissors. So this is Quilt Smart Company, and everything's on fusible interfacing. See, all the printing is there. But it helps if you have this ruler. I have my back still on mine. And I dug through my rulers. Remember how I've been going through my rulers? And I found this, and this goes to this project. 1997 it says. So I've done this before somewhere along the line. So it says easy and quick right on there. See how that works. Okay, so this is resource book day. You see what time it is. Oh yeah, we're good to go. Okay, so hi everyone. This is resource book day. So I cut 2 pieces of fabric that will fit in the page protectors. I've got something on my finger that I've got on my fabric. Anyway. And I gave them some a good dosing. Was that dousing of I don't use spray starch because it draws bugs and it's flaky. So I use Best Press. So I put a bit on that so I can feel the difference in. It's got a little more body to it. So when you're using Best Press and starch is the same way, you want to iron it, press it until it's dry. Don't press it and it's still damp and set it aside. Press it till it's dry, turn it over, spray it again, press it till it's dry. And you can do that a couple of times depending on how much body you want to have. Now, for this resource book samples, if you have a embroidery machine, you can use the cutaway stabilizer instead of fabric if you want. It has a little more body to it. I'm using fabric because I wanted to show you a couple things that if you're using fabric, what will happen. And on the stabilizer, the cutaway, don't use the no-show mesh cutaway. Sorry, I don't have a smaller one here. But you want to use this, the stiffer kind. And that's good for doing lots of your stitching samples on. If you're doing it just to put in your resource book. If you're stitching to see how it looks on a certain fabric, then you have to use that certain fabric. Okay. So I'm gonna set this fabric as well. I'll just leave it here, otherwise I'll lose it, won't I? So I'm just using 100% cotton thread, and this is about top stitching. So I have here, let's see what I've got. So I have my Microtex needle for sewing. That's the 7010 needle. And we don't need that today because we're not sewing, so I'll throw that back there. So what I have is a top stitch 8012 and a top stitch 9014. And as you can see, when I had these out, that's 3 different brands. I haven't found any difference between any of the named brands. So most places have Schmetz, and if they don't, they have Class A. This is Superior. I'm not sure how many places carry that, but I think Schmetz is in Joann's and places like that. So that'll work fine. So needle size is all about thread thickness. Now needles, the bigger the number, the bigger the needle. Makes it easy. Thread is opposite, just to make it hard for you. So if you always remember sewing thread, and look, I got out all red, Gloria, just for you. Sewing thread is 50 weight, 50 weight. So if you remember your everyday sewing thread is 50 weight, that helps you know, get a determination of what other weights are. So the next thing I have here, these are both machine embroidery threads. So these are machine embroidery threads, and I'm not sure if you can see. This is Floriani, and this is poly and very shiny. This is Isacord, Isacord, and Isacord thread is poly, but it's a matte finish. Can you see a bit of the difference? It has a sheen to it, but it's not as shiny. Maybe that can show you there a little bit. I'm trying to get you towards facing the light. But they're the same weight. Machine embroidery thread is 40 weight. And machine embroidery designs are digitized or made with 40 weight thread in mind. So the next one I have is, go this way. This is Sulky, and it's a cotton, and it is 30 weight. So remember, this is 50, this is 40, a tad thicker, this is 30, a little more thicker, I was going to say, a little thicker than this one. Also, it's cotton, so it's not as shiny, but I feel like when cotton goes through your machine, it has a little bit more drag to it than the shiny, silky kind of stuff. This one is also Sulky, and Sulky's the only one that makes these particular threads. This is a blendable. Oh, why am I getting so much shadow there? Right. It's a blendable, and what that means is it's not variegated. It looks like it's variegated, but a variegated, you'll notice it in yarn, and as you stitch along, because each color or shade of the color is exactly the same distance over and over and over, it'll start to make a pattern that you sometimes don't want. With these blendables, they're not they're erratic in their colors. You know, how many inches or millimeters or centimeters or whatever of each color. It's more random, so you don't end up with a pattern. And this thread, the blendables come in 30 weight, and they also come in 12 weight, which is even heavier. So this is a 12 weight. This is about as thick as you're going to get through your machine. So let's see. Let me get my little display. I'll put this fabric down, see if I can hold it up. Because you should be able to see the difference between this 30 weight and this 12 weight really easily. I got to pick it up so the threads are near each other and I can hang on to the spools at the same time. Here we go. So are you able to see that this one's thicker than the other one? Yeah, you can see that. Because we went from 30 weight to 12. And again, after that, it's not gonna work your machine. This one can sometimes give you trouble. I used to use it more often, and we'll just see how it goes today. So, because this is about top stitching or even applique stitching, decorative stitching. So everything is, the important part is on top. So you're not going to use your regular foot. And I know I've told you this before, but I'm doing this video so it is, oh, thanks ladies for letting me know. I'm doing this video by itself for this technique, so you don't have to go through like one of the videos where we did 2 hours of applique stitching or whatever. So this is a J foot, brother baby lock. Janome is, and you can see it's got the little, remember the little knob. Janome is an A, and this is an N foot. Well, first of all, you get them up so I can get them at least. Oh, you're slippery little devils. So let's see if I can kind of hold on to them here. Oh, all right. They're sliding all over on that wool. Oh. And I didn't give you the N foot. See, I wasn't paying attention. All right, let's do it this way. So, J foot, N foot. And the N foot, you can see, has a little clear plastic to it. But the important part is when you turn it over, can you see how that's just flat? And when I turn this one over, let's see if I can get it. So, there we go. I know it's a little shiny, but see how you can see that little channel or tunnel right there? Well, when you're doing decorative stitching, your stitches are filled in more, and it makes that thickness, and it has to have somewhere to get through, where if you have your J foot on, as the stitches come back, they can't get through because this is flat against the fabric where this has that little tunnel. See it? So both of these feet come with most of your Baby Lock Brother machines. Now, one that I use a lot, I'm going to hold up the N foot, is this Candle-Wicking Foot. And yes, it's a separate purchase. But you can see, I can see all the way back to my needle. And I know I'm always telling you guys how, you know, you're not supposed to be looking at your needle. But in the case of top stitching or applique stitching or sometimes even decorative stitching, you need to see exactly where that needle's coming down. Right as it comes down or right before it comes down, because applique stitching, you're stitching along the edge of fabric and so forth. So this one has the tunnel. Oh, yeah, that's a good spot. And this one also has, oh, there you go. This one also has a tunnel. I know it's a little, in order for you to see the tunnel, it's almost like you got to put on sunglasses. So either one of these feet will work. We'll use the N foot today because that's what most people have. In my bobbin, I'm just going to have regular sewing thread. Because it's not going to show through on the other side. By having regular sewing thread, remember that's 50 weight, when I start using some of these heavier threads, I don't have to worry about that bobbin thread showing, so I can use a neutral color or like the color of whatever my background or whatever the fabric is. So I'm not going to keep winding bobbins of this stuff because having a 12 weight bobbin and 12 weight thread just isn't going to work. So I'm going to go ahead and put that. Well, no, we're going to just stitch plain first. So I'm going to put it on anyways. I'm going to use the N foot because even though I'm stitching a straight stitch, it is going to be a little heavier thread. So doesn't Doesn't cost anything extra to use a different foot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, this will be a little boring here and there because I have to do some stitching. So you can, I didn't want you to, you don't need to see me stitch straight lines because probably they're not going to be straight, but I didn't want you to think I was off doing something else when I'm, so you can see me stitching. And I threaded before. I need to change my needle because I have a Microtex needle in there. So let me just change my needle. And that's why this pin cushion's good, because I got sewing on one side, embroidery on the other, and I'm going to use the 80 top stitch, 80-12 top stitch. Now, I watch people in classes struggle to put their needle in, and when you put your needle in, if you go down into the foot first where the needle goes, and then go up, it'll line up much better for you. Okay. So I'm just going to do some straight stitching. And I'll go this way, I guess. So we don't need to do 20 miles of stitching, but I am going to lock my stitch at the beginning and the end. Just because this is my sample, I'm going to put in my resource book, and I may handle it a lot, so I don't want it to come undone. Oh, almost forgot to lock it. Okay, so you can see just a regular stitch. I'm going to change to embroidery thread. And machine embroidery thread is great thread for applique, top stitching, whether you have an embroidery machine or not, because it's nice and shiny and it comes in lots of pretty colors. And it'll last you a good amount of time. Now, I would take an extra fine Sharpie and I would write at the bottom 50 weight, 50 WT, or you could put sewing thread. And I'm going to keep these fairly close together. It'd be nice if I started the same spot every time, but that probably isn't going to happen. And let's come in a little closer here. And you can't see too much difference, and I'm just going to give that a little press as soon as I turn my iron on, just because it just has a little bit of pucker to it. But I'd be hard-pressed to tell those apart on a straight stitch. Okay? So I'll skip the one that's the Accuquilt that's just a different type but the same size until we get into a decorative stitch where you can actually see it. Now I'm going to go to the 30 weight and I'm going to switch my needle to a 90-14 top stitch. I'm going to stick that over there further so that I know it's a brand new one. And remember, you could say, well, why don't you just put a 90 in to begin with? Well, because the needle is going to make a hole, and I don't need a hole way bigger than what the thread is going to fill in. So here we go. Or maybe. Couldn't find the beginning there. Okay, here we go again. And let me just give this one a press. So I'm not sure if you can tell on camera or not, but this one is a little more thickness to it. You see the difference? I know they're not quite all the same color, but this one is really the same color as that. It's just thicker. Okay? Now let's try that 12 weight. Oh, you know what? Let's try we'll try the blendable first. And that's a 30 weight, the same as the one I just used. And you can get blendables in shading of the same color. You can get it in like red, white, and blue. Oh, good. So Gloria and Rhonda said they can see the difference. So this one, I don't think we stitched. Oh, hold on one second. I'm not sure we stitched far enough to see the difference in the color, and it's not, oops, sorry. It's kind of orangey here and then goes on to being more pink. But they make it in like black, white, and gray, red, white, and blue, green, blue, and whatever. And so you can get a lot of color variation. I will say that if you were using, for example, you were using the red, white, and blue. And I'm threading up while I'm talking. I want you to know I'm multitasking. But if you had the red, white, and blue thread, and say you're on blue fabric, well, the red and the white would show, but the blue wouldn't, and it really looks odd because it looks like you didn't stitch in places. So just be careful when you're picking one of those multicolor ones that one of the colors isn't the same as your fabric. Because I did that, and every time I looked at what I stitched, I kept thinking that I missed some stitches. Okay, so here's our 12 weight. It threaded through with the threader all right. So let's see how this one goes. We just press it. So you can really, I can really see the difference there. So these two are the 30 weight. This is the 12 weight. And I don't know if you can see from the side how this one stands up higher. Not sure if you can see that or not. So let me see if I can get there. Now you can see how much thicker this one is. So let's take this one, and I'm going to try a triple stitch. Why not, right? So a triple stitch, let me back up again. Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to make you dizzy. The triple stitch goes forward, back, forward, forward, back, forward, forward, back, forward. And it's made to look like more like hand stitching. So I'm going to change my stitch length to, I'm going to go 3.5 just so it's exaggerated a bit. And then I'm going to do the 12 weight, and then I'll do the 30 weight, and then we'll do the sewing. So let me put a little more space there. Now, well, let's see how it works. So this is going to take a little bit more time to stitch. And I'm just going to give it a quick, give that a quick little press. Holy moly, wait till you see that. Now you can tell the difference. Can you see how it's, let me come in this way. There we go. That really does look like, what do you call it? Embroidery with that DNC floss. What is it, embroidery floss? That's pretty cool. So let's try it with the 30 weight. And if you're wondering, the 12 weight is orange and the 30 weight is brown. Do I always remember that? No. Glad I have an automatic threader today. Okay, so now I'm going to try the 30 weight, same stitch. I'm going to have Caspian get this for me. I'm going to give you a demonstration. Some of you that have been in my classes know the old toilet paper demonstration. Okay, so let me press it. It's hot, 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 hot. So there's quite a bit of difference between those two. This is really, there we go. Now you can see how it's raised up. Okay, and I'm going to switch to the sewing thread. I know, it means I have to change my needle, but you're anticipating the demonstration, aren't you? Okay, so I need this, and then this sewing thread. This could be the highlight of the whole evening. Okay, so now we're going to use the sewing thread. Oh, wrong button. Okay, let me set my demo aside for a minute. Okay, let me just give this a press. And now I'll hold all of them up. So we started here. See how close I can get and it's still got light enough. So sewing thread, machine embroidery thread, 30 weight thread, 30 weight blendable, 12 weight, okay? Needle, 80, 80, 90, 90, 90. Stayed in 90. This is a triple stitch with the 12 weight. See if I can, yeah, how's that? 12 weight triple, 30 weight triple, sewing machine triple. And you can see how they stand, this one stands up, oh, this one stands up more on the fabric or off the fabric. Okay? All right. Now, and you'll see why the reason I use the toilet paper, because it's easier than trying to see a little thread. So this thread, let me see if I can come in a little more. Okay. This thread is cross wound. You can probably see it better with this one, which means it goes this way and this way and this way as it's wound. It's not wound straight. No, that one doesn't help you any. Let's see which one shows you the best. Oh, sorry. So, in other words, instead of going straight around, this one goes straight around. You can easily see that. So let's see if I can, there you go. You can see it's called cross wound, so it just means it's not straight. See how straight this is. Okay. So this is meant to feed this way off. Well, when I've already got the thread, see, can I get the thread out of any of them? So it's made to go off this way. So if your machine has the horizontal spool pin, that's fine. It also, and all thread is better off going straight up for a distance. So you can either get so let me back up a minute. So this is my 2-thread spool stand. And so I put the thread on here. It comes up this distance, which gives it that chance to relax and get a grip on life that it's going to be going through the needle. And then it goes off to the needle. Now you can buy a thread stand, a single thread stand, but make sure they're black. And when you get one, if you get one, make sure it's the heavy metal one. You don't want some plastic thing that goes roaming around the place. But things always work better when you have this distance coming up for the thread to kind of relax, okay? So let me get this out of the way. Okay. This thread comes off this way. It's meant to come off this way. And the best way to explain that, as opposed to coming off from this horizontal, is toilet paper. It's a new one, so I didn't grab it out of the bathroom. So toilet paper, and you can argue which way toilet paper needs to go. I knew a lady that was crazy if she had toilet paper on the wrong way. But if you roll it off, it rolls off nicely, whether you do it this way or this way. But if this was a spool of this thread, and you're on your horizontal needle this way, your horizontal spool pin, now it's coming off this like this. And do you see how it's twisting up as it comes off of the spool? Well, that's exactly what your thread's doing. It's making this all twisty mess. So hopefully with your little toilet paper demonstration that you'll remember that. So if you have a spool of thread that's straight wound across, if you want to have it either, I got to get rid of the toilet paper. I don't want to put it near the iron and set it on fire. You can get spool pins that will let you take it off this way or this way, doesn't matter which, this way. If you don't, get the spool, the thread holder, and the thread holder is going to be on the table. And it's going to come up and around the back of your machine, not to the right side where your wheel is, where you can suck all the thread into the wheel, because people have done that. Stay away from the wheel. It gives it a chance to relax, and then it goes down into your machine and through the tensions. So I just wanted to say that before I forgot about it. So does anybody have any questions on that toilet paper demonstration? That was pretty exciting, wasn't it? Okay. All right. So now I'm going to do a decorative stitch. And you notice with this one, I did get a little puckering. And you do when you sew. That's why whenever you sew a seam, you press the seam before you open the seam. And that helps that relax and get the stitches all nestled into the fabric. The thicker the thread and the bigger the needle, the more that could be an issue. But when you're working with a decorative stitch, and I'll pick one in a minute, I use behind it this paper, and it's called Stitch. I think it's Stitch. I don't have it's been so long I have no idea what the little paper cover is. Stitch and I think it might be an ampersand, Stitch and Ditch paper. And I don't think you can get this size roll anymore. This is the 3-inch. I think it's only 9-inch now, and it doesn't matter. You're not going to waste any because you just tear off what you need. But if you put this behind your fabric, it's going to help your fabric to not pucker. Because sometimes, depending on the fabric, even when you zigzag, you might get a pucker. Okay. The other thing that helps is starching it or best pressing it. So let's see. We got our sewing needle in. Is that what I worked with last? Yes. Had to work my way back down. Okay. Let me set this aside right here. Moment. With that toilet paper out of the way. I'm just going to pick a decorative stitch. One that's pretty common to everyone. If you have some decorative stitches, you'll have this one. Looks like a little asterisk. And let me come in a little bit more. So I've got my end foot on, got my tunnel. I'm on the sewing part, so I'm going to I have my 80-12 needle in. Because what's going to happen sometimes is certain stitches you can only do certain weights of thread with, and then they don't look like stitches anymore. On decorative stitches, when you start to change the width and the length of decorative stitches, you sometimes lose what the decorative stitch was meant to be. So I'm just going to take a little piece of this paper, and I'm just going to put it underneath my fabric. And I will tell you that for those of you that have an embroidery machine, and you think you're going to use your tearaway stabilizer here, not a good idea, because tearaway stabilizer is, hold on. Okay, so this is a piece of tearaway stabilizer. You can see the difference right off, because this one is like paper thin, and this one it's so crinkly. So when you have just decorative stitches, this is way too heavy because it's going to pull a lot more in those stitches, and this is a lot cheaper. And see how paper thin it is. And no, adding machine paper won't do it. Because can you see? This is like, I don't know, maybe a fifth at least of thickness to adding machine paper. Do they still make that, adding machine paper? Do they still make adding machines? Okay, so let me do this decorative stitch, and I'm not going to do it for too long a distance because that would be exceedingly boring. And for each one of these, I'm going to keep the stitch width and length, I think, the same if I can. I may, when I get to the 12, have to go up to something larger. And again, this is another page for your resource book. Okay? So you can see that has less wrinkle to it than my regular straight stitching had. And I'm going to leave the paper back there for now because I can get another row out of it before I tear it away. I'm going to try the embroidery to see if you can see more of the shine to it next to the sewing thread. And remember, this is 40 weight. Just a little heavier than sewing machine thread, but number one, it's polyester. So you can get embroidery thread, polyester or rayon. Rayon is stronger than poly, but rayon is not color fast and poly is. And part of that is, if you think about you're doing some bibs and you're doing some decorative stitches or you're doing an embroidery on it, you give it to someone, they throw it in the washer, put a little bleach in it, take all the color right out of your rayon thread. You'll have white thread. Oh, did you see that fly? Get along, nerd. Okay, so now I'm doing the machine embroidery thread, and we'll see if it's a little shinier than that sewing thread. And as a guide, I'm running my foot alongside of the first stitching I did. Because with, especially on a baby lock and a brother machine, some stitches are really big because the machine can go left and right. And so it's a little harder to steer because you have to pay attention to, if it's going left and right, you don't want to change the steering of it straight. So it's a little hard at first, but you kind of get used to it. So I can see the difference in the shine. I'm not sure. I think there you can see it. And when I take this paper away, and I would normally leave it on more, but I think you're probably going, well, come on, let's see the paper. Okay, let me give it a little press. So let's see if you can see the, oh, there you go. See the shininess of this one over here? And it's all nice and fine on the back. And these little pieces will just disappear because they're so fine. Okay, so now let's switch our needle to the 9014. Helps if you have the flat side of the needle to the back of the machine. Always pull your thread forward, don't pull it back. Your tension discs are meant for your thread to go down. And you stop pulling it back and you break those little threads up in the tension disc. And then it's a $125 service call just for someone to pull some thread out that you can't reach. You won't like that. Oh. So now I'm going to do the 30 weight. And I have to say, my threader worked fine through all threading everything so far. And again, I'm just going to place this down behind. It'll be fine. So same stitch, excuse me, same stitch, same length and width. I can hear it a little more than, oh, I went crooked, wasn't paying attention. So we're getting a little thicker. I think you can see the difference because this one becomes more raised up. And remember, this is a cotton, so it's not going to be shiny. So now you can probably see even how much shiny. Let's see if I can. There we go. Maybe right there. The middle one is shinier. Okay, now we're going to try the 12 weight. But and you notice that let me get here. You notice that here you can see every little prong of that little asterisk, where now they're starting to get a little murky there in the middle. So we're going to do the 12 weight. Now I'm going to leave the, if it lets me, if my machine doesn't start crying, I'm going to leave it at the same width and length. and I can hear that more going through the fabric. Excuse me. So now that's really getting chunky. Now I'm going to take it and I'm going to make the length and width a little bigger. So the length now is 3.0. I'm going to go to 4. And the width is 6. Let's try 7. Let's give that a whirl. Oh, wrong paddle. And actually, that's not too bad. It's a little large. So let me take this paper off. And you notice I keep my finger on the stitches in the fabric, so I'm not yanking the stitches up. Give it a little press. Oh, let me hold it this way. If I come up, sometimes if I sneak up on the camera slowly. So that particular stitch is not too bad. Now I noticed that nowhere here at all did my bobbin thread come up, but it did come up here because I took the stitch to a size it wasn't meant to be. So in that case, I would put in red sewing thread in the bottom, and you can see the little wrinkle there, but it shows more in the camera than it does in real life. And I would just, there we go. So that's all the different sizes on that. Oh, pardon my head. Back up a little bit. Oh, no, that's forward, Lorraine. There we go. So let me just check and see if anybody has any questions. And let's see. I'm going to go actually over to my decorative stitch side. And I'm going to pick some words. You can't see them yet. And I'm going to do it with the, I'm going to do it with the 12 weight first, and then I'll do the 30 weight, and you can see. Oh, good, Rhonda. You can see the difference? There's this little fella. He still looks shiny. So this is a good thing to have. And again, an extra fine tip Sharpie, and just you can put down here what stitch you used. And if you change the size of the width and length, you can put that. Or you can put your weights of thread, 40 weight, 50 weight, 40 weight, 30 weight, 12, and weight, WT is enough. And then this one, I would put the 12 weight and under it I would put that how I changed that stitch length, and maybe up here the stitch number. Because it gives you a good reference, rather than having to go through this every single time. It gives you a good reference for what you're doing. And for top stitching, a lot of times when you're doing just a straight stitch top stitching, hold on, my toilet paper's blown into where the iron is, the fan is on. Or start a toilet paper fire. How would I explain that? Now I forgot what I was saying. You'll have to remind me. I forgot what I was saying. I had a moment of panic there. Anyways, so if you have these done, you don't have to do them every single time. And you can look at them and go, oh yeah, that's right, this one's thicker and this is what it does. And you can see it, and you can see the sewing one, see how defined the sewing one is in the embroidery ones and how they become less defined. They look like spiders over here at the end. I was talking about, so if you have to do top stitching on something, having a straight line with a straight stitch is more noticeable if you're not straight than if you did a decorative stitch. All right, so I'm going to try this next one, just so you can see how it works. Let's see. Oh, I guess I'll move over a ways. And you notice I didn't have any issue with my paper at all. It stays where it's supposed to once you start stitching. If I was doing this particular stitch, I might draw a line with my fabric pen so I can stay on the straight. Oh. I should have had it do just one. And can you see how it stands up a bit? Now let's try it with the 30 weight, and then we'll just do the sewing. So this time I'm going to pick one. So on your sewing machine, if you have a tab or icon or button, whatever you're going to call it, and it has 3 stars together and then 1 star by itself, that means if you hit the 1 star, it'll just make one of whatever the decorative stitch is. So that's what I did. Oh, help if I put thread in, wouldn't. Oh, this time we'll use that blender because we're stitching more. So look on your machine to see if you have that, because that's not a just big machine option. But it'll be on a Baby Lot and Brother. It'll be 3 stars together and 1 star separate. And you hit the 1 star. Okay, so let's see how this one works. Now this is 30 weight. And see, it's automatically going to stop because I had it pressed for just 1. Oh, so now you can see it's kind of purple and yellow, and so that's a nice weight for this. This is a little too chunky, I think, but this is a nice weight. So let's, oh look, I told you that the paper would behave itself, and not, I lied. Because I got the fan blowing that way. So I'm just going to get that out of the way. And I'm going to go ahead and, change my needle. And I'm going to do this with the regular, that's really pretty. Can you see the different colors in that? See how half the heart is purple? Oh, Gloria, yeah, you like the 30 weight better? I think so. I think that's perfect. I think, I'm going to say that I think that the sewing might be too thin. But we'll see. Now, I will say that if you buy Schmetz needles, let me get one out here. I threw them over here. So Schmetz needles now, see if you can see it. Can you see they have colored bands on them. Hold on. Can you see the two colors right about here? One's purple and one's green. So one band, I never can remember which one. One band tells you the type of needle, and the other band tells you the size. The only needles that have only one band are universal needles, and they have one band, and then the band for the one band is for the size. Oh, there we go. See the purple? Right. Thought I had it, and then I moved it. This is like a. Can you see it? There's a green and a purple, and then a green underneath. Well, maybe right about there. So that way you can tell. And I don't keep a chart, and I don't remember. But if I pull out my package, the rest of the ones in there have that same color band, then I know which needle it is. I'm sure they make a chart. And now I got them all. There we go. So the Schmetz is the only one that does that. I got to take a little drink here. All right, so we're going to sewing thread. If you check on the link in the description of my videos, I have a page on a link to a page on my website that probably has that thread stand on it that you can get it through Amazon or whoever. There's a link there for it. Okay, so we're going to do this again. I really like that with the purple and the orange and the pink, the red. And let me give that a little press. I know I did it with the paper on the back, but it didn't set on fire. So there we go. Oops, let me get a little, scoot a little closer here. The sewing thread isn't actually is better than I thought it was going to be. So, Gloria, which one do you like now? Do you like the sewing one all right? And there's a lot of machines that have some kind of alphabet in them. This particular one I picked in decorative stitching is words, but there's a lot of machines that have sewing alphabets, and it's always, you notice it's, so we were sewing this way, and that's how it would sew if you were doing an alphabet. So you could bring in different letters of the alphabet and make a word or whatever. This happened to be a little sentence already made. Oh, you like the sewing thread one the best? It does look pretty good. It's much more, it's almost like it's a double stitch. It's much thicker than it's thicker than I thought it was going to be. And look how nice and defined it is. And the same with, now you can see there. And I have to iron out my wrinkles. But the sewing thread and the first Floriani embroidery thread have more definition to them. Yeah, so Gloria was saying that when she's doing words, she likes the thinner thread, and I agree, because in this case they're more spread out. But if you had the word like these close together, you want to have that more definition to it. Even if you're doing machine embroidery words, you can go to a thinner thread, which in embroidery would be 60 weight, or even I can't remember if it's I think it's 80 weight, because it gives you that more definition. And there we go. You can definitely see the difference between those. That third one now looks like he's really chunky, doesn't he? Oh, now you can see the purple and the orange and the yellow in that second one? There we go. Okay, so like I said, I wanted to keep this a little shorter so that when you need to refer back to it about the needle sizes and the threads and so forth and what I use, you're not going through a big long video. And I tried to, except for this one, I tried to stick with the stitches that are in most machines. Your entry-level mechanical machines aren't going to have as much to them. And like I said, there's a lot of machines at a decent price, 500, 600, somewhere in there probably, that have alphabets in them. Might not be this particular phrase, but it'll have the alphabet. And generally, it has maybe a couple different ones to pick from. And you just press in each letter that you want for your word, and then you stitch your word. If you have to, because I don't know how long you can go on your screen of whatever machine it might be, but if you had to do your words in sections, make sure you draw that line across so that you can put the next word or next few words going along in the same place. But most of the time I find that people, when they're going to put words, it's not like, you're not doing like the Gettysburg Address or something. You're just doing some, child's name or someone's name or some simple thing like that. So let me just show you that. Oh, let me get the other one. So I'll go over them one more time. So on that, let's see. See, I was doing so well too. Okay. Sewing thread, embroidery thread. So 50 weight, 40 weight, 30 weight, 30 weight blendable, 12 weight. So 80-12 needle, 80-12, 90-14, 90-14, 90-14. Triple stitch, 12 weight, still 90-14 needle. Triple stitch, it goes forward, back, forward, forward, back, forward, forward, back, forward. So 12 weight, 30 weight, sewing. Okay? On this one, just the basic, I call it the asterisk, and a lot of machines have this. So we're back to our 80-12 needle. So 50 weight sewing thread, 40 weight embroidery thread, 30 weight, and this is cotton, 12, So 80-12, 80-12, then we switch to the 90-14, 30 weight, 12 weight, and then this is 12 weight, making the stitch bigger. One whole number wider, one whole number width and length. Okay? Then here, well, I can start at this end. So we're back to the 80-12 needle, sewing thread, 90-14 needle, 30 weight, 12 weight. I didn't do anything to any of them to change the width or the length, and it might not even let me do that. Okay, and let's see if I can get close up again. And then close up again. Oh yeah, you can see the shininess of that one, I think. And then close up again. Okay? So I got my reference pages done, and like I said, do them in small sections so they fit in the, what do you call those, page protectors, and put a piece of paper in there, write whatever extra notes you need, but I would write on here with an extra fine Sharpie, you know, the Sharpie that has the hard point to it, and just write your information right on there, okay? So let me just see if anybody has any questions. I have to remember what needle I have in there. I used, so Superior has nothing on it to tell you what size is what. So I can see, if I take my glasses off, I can, the size is stamped into every needle. You just have to be able to see it. So let me just check. Oh, Gloria's got it. She's got notes and ready to go for her reference book. So yeah, take the time, everyone, really. Take a few minutes in the next couple of days and just do a few little stitches, just a little something basic, and put them in your book. And then later on, you want to try some other types of stitches, add them later on. You don't have to do like 50 samples at one time. Just keep adding things to your reference book. Put a page in about what you were doing and what the whole point of whatever the samples are. Okay? So thanks everyone for joining in. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and hit the little bell so you get the notification. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And I will talk to everybody next time. Thanks again, everyone. Bye-bye.